Okay, so today's topic is Google Ads 101, kickstarting your digital journey. As I mentioned before, we've got two speakers. We have Laura Moxon from YBA, and we also have Will King from YBA. Laura's going to show you how to boost your sales leads and attract more customers, and Will is going to be covering the new Google Consent Mode V2. So I will now hand over to Laura, who will be starting.
Good morning, all. I do hope you've got something stronger than my glass of water here to keep you going this morning. So great to see you all. I see lots of names I recognise and lots that I don't. So a warm welcome to those who I haven't yet met. Today's session is about Google Ads and how we can look to get more sales leads and inquiries through into your business. So this is more for sort of beginners, new into their digital journey. You perhaps aren't doing Google Ads, don't know what it means, how it can help you, why should I invest in Google Ads, all of these kind of questions coming through. So this is what over the next half an hour I'm going to share with you. So if you could just play along for a second and just give me a little bit of a hands up, just if you can put in the chat either a 1, 2 or a 3 kindly. So just pop in a number 1 if you're not doing Google Ads. Pop in a number 2 if you're doing Google Ads and you're kind of scratching your head thinking, is this working? What is this actually doing? Or 3 if you're doing Google Ads and you're like, yes, I've absolutely smashed it. I can take on Laura's job. What is she doing? So either put a 1 or a 2 or a 3 in there. That would be really helpful just so I can kind of gauge where people are at in their Google Ads journey. But like I say, this is about people that are new to Google Ads. I'm starting right from the beginning to give you some good, useful knowledge if you're starting out. And if you're already doing it, then this will help you along the way too. So why bother? Why should I be doing Google Ads? Well, there's a few little facts, because I love data, a few facts and stats that I wanted to share with you. So the first key thing is that, in fact, 80%, this is sort of updated from the Self-Storage Association survey, that 80% of people that have turned to the internet find a business like yours for their storage requirements. So, you know, it's too big to ignore. That is where people are at. That is people's journey to find a self-storage company. Now, clearly, they'll be looking for referrals and they'll know people too. However, a vast proportion of people are looking to Google to find you potentially. 200,000. So this is what Google estimates the number of people that are searching across the whole of the UK for self-storage every month. Now, you may be a self-storage unit in Leeds, for example, in which case there's not going to be 200,000 people looking, but this is across the UK. So in your local area, there will be a number of people every month that are looking for self-storage and looking to find a company that can look after them, sorry. So it's a big number that we need to be looking at and understanding that can help you grow your business. The third bit is about seasonality. Now, I speak to a lot of self-storage companies and they say, yeah, but it's really seasonal. Seasonal in terms of sales may be the case. However, month to month, they are looking for you and what you offer them. So there isn't very much seasonality in terms of people looking. You'll see there for the last 12 months, it's fairly consistent. Now, this is a great opportunity for your business to be able to get more sales leads and inquiries. However, I wouldn't be running a business if it was super easy. So it's quite tricky to get working, and there's a number of reasons for this. It's you need to be regularly in it, changing things, adapting things, because it's a live bidding auction. So you can't just kind of set it and forget it. Secondly, there's lots of competition. This is a great marketplace. It's a really growing industry. So therefore, there's going to be more and more people investing and buying into the industry. Therefore, there's going to be more competition and you've got to work harder to gain those customers. And Google, they want you to spend rather than save. So they're not necessarily on your side of the fence. So we need to be doing this right and be able to not make the mistakes that many people are making. So my kind of summary there is that it's a really important part of growing your business, because people are turning to Google looking for self-storage. You've got to be in it to win it. They're turning to Google. So let me just tell you a couple of minutes about us, who are YBA. Well, we are a preferred supplier with the Self Storage Association. We have been for now 2 years. You may be on our list to receive videos. I do a little video on a Friday morning to share tips, tricks, little things that will help you grow your business. If you don't get those, then let me know. I can add you to that list. We provide information and content for the Unlocked magazine that's distributed to members. We help out with webinars. And if you're going to the UK Self Storage Association event in April, which I do hope you are, we will be there. And also we will be there at the Dragon's Den event before, which is exciting. We're also a Google Premier partner, so that takes us in the top 3% of agencies for Google, and we're in that sort of accolade because of the advertising spend that we represent for our clients and the results that we get. Now, also specifically for self-storage, the reason why I'm able to help you guys is that we have a number of self-storage clients we work with, and we've got 75,000 click data. We've got 75,000 conversions or inquiries in the last 12 months. So that's just for self-storage, and a huge amount of data to really help everybody in the industry. And for our agency, we look after over £4 million worth of spend per year. So we're heavily invested in self-storage. We're here to help you and guide you along the way. So that's a little bit about us. Now, also, I just wanted to tell you a couple of stories that may resonate with you. And these are a couple of the clients that we work with. We work with a wide range of self-storage clients. So we spoke to both of these clients, and it was a fairly similar story. So Edward Howard from Mega Storage and Premier Self Storage. So he was working with an agency and didn't have the visibility of what was going on in his account, and wasn't entirely sure of how well it was helping him, but felt it was kind of working all right. So we looked at the ads account for him, and we did a thorough deep dive and looked at it and said, well, hold on, we're not quite right on some of the aspects within the account. For example, the keywords and some settings and various things that we could set right. So we did that, and quite quickly there was a real sort of sea change in his results. So we were able to help double his leads and actually reduce his spend heavily. And with Nicola at The Hive. So a similar kind of story, but they were doing it in-house and part of the many things that they do. So we identified various issues within the account that they weren't necessarily to know these things. So we made those changes, and then really rapidly they were able to get up to capacity and also increase their prices too. So by making changes within accounts can really help to get better results. So today what I want to do for you is to be able to share with you some kind of top line information. I'm not going to go into the depth and detail. I'm going to go kind of touching top line. So what is Google Ads and kind of how does it work? And then the key things underneath that, which is the keywords, and that's how Google Ads works, the ads that people see. Then what do we need to do about the place at which we're taking people to on your website? Lastly is about tracking. How can we see if this thing is actually working or not? And then the bonus is my good friend Will in our technical team is going to talk to you about something really important, and you're going to have to give yourself a coffee boost for this one, is consent mode version 2, which sounds all very boring, but unfortunately you have to do this and improve things for Google to keep you compliant. So please bear with us on that one. He will go into detail on that. So first of all, what is Google Ads? Well, it's quite interesting. Somebody thought that it was a pay-per-click, but it's actually a pay-per-click model. So what that means is when somebody sees your ad and clicks on your ad, which I'll show you in a minute, that is when you pay Google. You pay Google when somebody visits your site. Now, the great thing about Google Ads, it's all about buyer intent. And what I mean by that is somebody is effectively going to Google with their hands over their keyboard to try and find what it is that you do so that they can come and hopefully explore working with you as a supplier. So that is what Google Ads is. And the purpose really of Google Ads is just to get people to your website. That's the purpose of Google Ads. It's not to make the sale. That is not its purpose. The purpose is to get people with intent to your website. So what does it look like? Well, this is what it looks like. So when I just did a little search here. So when you type in here, self-storage near Hove, and I'm not in Hove, I'm outside Hove, but I just selected randomly that place. I live in Harpenden, so maybe I just had H on the mind. So when you do that search, the ads that will come up are those that these businesses have said to Google, when these things are typed into Google, self-storage near Hove, I want our ads to be at the top. Now, there's no guarantee that you'll be at the top. There's a number of different things that need to be done to ensure that you get as far up the top as you can, which is about how relevant your website is, how good your ad copy is in relation to the keyword, because Google is all about relevancy. It wants to make sure that what its customers, its searchers are looking for is relevant to that company that's advertising. So what you will get is you will have 4 ads at the top. Then you'll have the map, which is entirely different. That's nothing to do with Google Ads, although you can boost it in there, but that's not what this is about. And then the rest of the listings, which I couldn't fit in this screenshot, is what's called organic listings of the website. And you might have heard the term SEO, which is all about putting the right words on your website so that Google organically thinks that you are relevant and will show your listing, but you don't pay for that to Google. So that is what Google Ads is. And again, the purpose is to try and get people along that sales journey. So Google Ads, for me, in self-storage, is ideally we want people to ring you up and call you to become a sales lead. So we're trying to get the right people to your website, and a proportion of those will ring you up to say, hey, I'm thinking about storage, can you help me? Or they may fill out a form on your website, in which case you would get an email inquiry come through. And depending on what the journey is on your website, that could be a little bit more in depth, but it's a form on your website that somebody fills out. Or lastly, it could be that somebody becomes a customer and actually self-serves and pays online. The other element is about live chat. You may have live chat on your website. Again, that is a step that is a great sales process to have that communication with the customer. The top kind of sales inquiry you want to get, really, in my opinion, and from data, is we want to get somebody to ring you up and inquire, because you can overcome objections, you can handle their inquiries there and then, and try and get them really bought into what you do. Somebody filling out a form is a little bit more of a hurdle, because you've got to then try and get back in contact with them by either phoning them up, sending them emails, etc. But the conversion from inquiry to sale is higher on a phone call coming through. So that is what we're trying to achieve once people come to your website. Now, Google Ads, I wanted to touch on this because people say, well, shall I be doing Facebook ads? Now, as a business owner or marketer within the business, you're going to have all sorts of marketing opportunities, and online Facebook is another option. But the difference between the two is buyer intent. So Google Ads, as we've said, this is about people turning to Google, looking for what you do into Google. Facebook, what we're trying to do is trying to say, hey, QE, you know, we do self-storage, come have a chat with us. So it's a very different buying sort of psychology. So Facebook is good, and it's great to be kept up to date. And so when somebody goes onto your Facebook page, then that's wonderful. However, in terms of return on that investment and getting the sales leads coming through, Facebook is a different thing altogether. So there are 5 key steps that I want to go through this morning on your Google Ads journey. So I'm sure you can read those, but these are the 5 things that we're going to touch on. Firstly is your audience. So this is my lovely mother, and I often think about my mother with regards to self-storage. So she, for me, is a typical self-storage person that may be searching. You'll have different audiences. You'll have students, you'll have business owners. But my point here is, think about your audience. Who are they? Why are they turning to Google? What is their pain problem at the moment? What's going to inspire them once they come to your website? So have a little think about who that audience is in relation to all of these other elements that I'm talking about. First off, keywords. So with regards to keywords, again, pretend that you are my mum and you're turning to Google, you've got this, you're moving house, you've got all these boxes, or you're thinking about moving house and you're planning it. What is it that's going to inspire you to turn to Google? So that is what she's going to be typing in. This is not weird and wonderful keywords that people are typing in. It is not going to surprise you, hopefully, that these are the sorts of keywords that people will type in. So there's two key things that are really good types of keywords. Firstly is around location-based keywords. So these are keywords that people will type in that include the type of thing. So for example, storage, storage unit, self-storage, etc., plus the town name, the area that you're in. These are really buyer intent. You know, my mum's going to go, okay, if she lives in Liverpool, she's going to go storage Liverpool, self-storage in Liverpool, storage units near me, etc. So these are the types of keywords that are really effective to bring the right kind of buyer intent people to the top of Google, and then hopefully the ad copy that we show them will inspire them to click on. So these are the kind of keywords that are really effective within storage. You can also go a little bit more granular if, for example, you have caravans or you do perhaps van hire. I know that some of our clients do those sorts of different services. So there's different types of keywords that you can use. If you have just outdoor storage, then you might think, okay, we only want to have, you know, container units, Liverpool, for example. However, my mother might not know the difference between internal and external units. So sometimes you can have those more broader sort of storage keywords in there. So these are some examples of the location-based type keywords that I would recommend. The other aspect of keywords that might shock you a bit is, excuse me, is about having your brand keywords. And when I say brand keywords, I mean your company name, because you might be out there doing some local leaflet drops, or somebody might refer you and say, oh yeah, you must speak to, I've just put there, Moxham Storage. I don't have a storage company and I have no intentions of having a storage company. However, if my storage company is called Moxham, then what you can do is you can advertise to say to Google, right, when somebody types in Moxham Storage or Moxham Storage Liverpool, I want our ads to be at the top. So that means that you would have an ad at the top, and hopefully your website would be listed as well there. And the benefit there is that you're kind of what we call omnipresent, which means wherever I look on Google, you are there. So you're protecting also if one of your competitors wants to bid on your keyword too. So these are the two kind of keywords that I would recommend that you have in your campaigns. Plus, also really think about the location targeting. Now, in your area, you may have a number of different self-storage companies. And what we need to be thinking about is, what is the drive? Where does my ideal customer come from? And where are they likely to be living in relation to my self-storage unit? So it might be that in a local area, they have lots of competitors. So what you can do is you can kind of deviate around those. So it's a really important thing to do, is to look at the location of where you are and the demographics and the competitive nature of where you are, because that can really influence the effectiveness or otherwise of your Google Ads campaigns. So quick summary there. I know there's lots to take in this morning, is have buyer intent type of keywords, protect your brand, and make sure that your location targeting within your campaigns in relation to keywords is tight and you know, serving you well. Moving on then to ad copy. When we look at ad copy, we have a fight on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. So we have 4 advertisers there, and it's our job to earn that click, to get somebody to click on our ad. So we need to be looking at who's advertising currently, what are they saying, what makes them different from us, and what we need to be doing is identifying, well, what makes us better? Are we cheaper? Are we award-winning? Have we got a better location? Do we offer them a free bottle of champagne when they take a storage unit? Whatever it is that you might be doing, but it's our job here in these ads that you'll see here to earn that click. So I've just highlighted a few things here. So first of all, relevancy. I typed in self-storage near Hove. So in some of these ads, the first one has got Hove in the ad copy, which is great. The others don't. The other has Shoreham at the bottom. Now, Shoreham, I know, is very, very close to Hove. However, the psychology of a searcher is if they see that if I've typed in Hove and I see an ad with Hove, well, that's great. That's going to, I'm more likely to click on it. Differentiate yourself. So you'll see the second line on the top ad, so 50% off your first 8 weeks. Now, that may be a way to be able to differentiate. The key thing here is to look at what advertisers locally are saying and make sure that yours is slightly different, because all you're doing is competing with the other advertisers that my mum is presented the ads of. Location clearly is a really important factor. So if you've got a great location, are you next to Starbucks? Identify that landmark so that people can go, oh yeah, I remember going past that. Right, I remember that one. Yeah, that's great. So relevancy to the location or the keyword that somebody's typed in. Number 2 is differentiate yourself from other competitors, because it's going to get harder and harder as more entrants come into the marketplace. And thirdly, location. Is there something that you can say about the location? So it really appeals to that person that's searching. So I wanted to identify quickly the difference that it can make by making differences to or adjustments to your ad copy. So in this example here, Hazel, the lovely Hazel Edwards of Container Team. So we made changes to ad copy, and I know I'm kind of throwing numbers here, but what this did by making changes is it really increased the click-through rate, which is the percentage of people that click on the ad and are compelled to touch it once they see the ad. So by making those changes, it massively increased the click-through rate. And the conversions, which basically means leads, that's a huge increase in the number of conversions. So the conversion rate went up and the cost per lead went down. So effectively, by making that ad copy change, this client was able to get many more leads from the same amount of ad spend. So it can really, really help by making these changes and looking what your local competitors are doing. So the next stage along the line is the landing page, which is kind of the fancy name for saying the page on your website that people go to when they come to your website. So again, thinking about my mother in my instance, but that ideal customer, that audience that's coming to your website, what is going to get them to pick up the phone to you or to interact with you? So there's a few things to think about for your website. Speed. Now, we all have short attention spans, and so speed and keeping Google happy with speed is a really important factor. So I'll show you in another couple of slides the sorts of things that you can do. Have a clear call to action. This means have the telephone number big, clear, prominent, so people can ring you. What is your offer? Is it a free quote? Is it a monetary offer? What is it that's going to compel somebody to take that next step along the line? Do you have an offer that's going to push them a little bit further? Relevancy. We need to make sure that the website and the page that you're taking people to is relevant. So it says self-storage Hove. There's a picture of the storage units in Hove that people might recognize from driving past. So make it really relevant. So people go, oh yeah, I'm in the right place. Okay, perfect. And then the last one is endorsement. So gosh, we're like sheep. Let's be honest. So when somebody comes to the website and they see that other people are happy with this service, and there's a couple of one-liners that says it was brilliant, it was simple, I felt the security was great, these sorts of things, that endorsement will encourage people to go, oh, you know what, I'll give them a call. Yeah, let's go. So these are 5 key things that you can all have a look at on your website. If you're doing Google Ads or not, it doesn't matter. These things are really important for your website to get more people to take action when they come to your website. Again, I'd like to share just a little story on a case study of a client that we work with, how we've made a change going from that first one on the left to a second, more sort of call to action, more action orientated landing page. And again, just to show you, with numbers how this made a difference. So the cost per click, because it was relevant, because it was a little bit faster than the other page, Google were like, yeah, okay, we'll bring down your cost per click. So that came down a little bit further. The ad spend came down in relation to that. And the number of leads went up hugely. And so again, for this client, he was getting many, many more leads from a similar amount of ad spend. So if you can imagine all of these different parts that I'm talking to you about, the outcome can be really stark for your business to be able to get you coming out going, yes, I love Google Ads. It really helps to grow our business. Quick one on page speeds. So this is a link that you can get, and I'll put it in the chat once I hand over to Will. What the page speeds will do is put your website into that link, and it will tell you your page speed out of 100. If it's in a red number, get it sorted. If it's in a yellow number, then you're kind of okay, room for improvement. And if it's green, well, you are absolutely smashing it. 3 key things that you can do is you can compress the images on your website. If you've got really big, heavy web images on your page, closing those down, making those smaller in terms of the file size will really help. Over time, we can add things to our website, add more scripts, add more things to it. We can remove some of those unnecessary scripts that are running in the background, because all of the hamsters are running really, really fast and the page is a little bit slower. And number 3 is about hosting. It may be that you have a slow host where your website is hosted. So those are the 3 key things that really help to improve the page speeds. But really, it's like doing a driving test with Google. We've got to play the game with Google, keep them happy, and increase the speed of our website. That really helps with your Google Ads. Now, measuring success, this is the Google Ads 101. If you're doing Google Ads and you're not measuring accurately what is working, then we have a bit of a problem. We audit and do a review of Google Ads accounts for people in self-storage. We've done hundreds of them. And this is one of the things that probably 95% of the accounts that we look at that highlighted that this is one of the issues. So we said there earlier that we want to have phone calls coming through, we want people filling out the form or buying online or potentially live chat. So those things are actions that happen when they come to your website. So we want to track that action as something that they've done, because then we can look in the Google Ads account and go, okay, this is the keyword that somebody typed in to make the phone ring. This is the keyword that we're spending loads of money on, but no one's doing anything. So we're going to scrap that and we're going to focus on the keywords that do make those actions happen. So measuring success like this is absolutely vital. It's a one-off thing that needs to be done. It is pretty techy, I'm not going to lie to you, but once it's done, once it's set up, then you can know how much of your Google Ads spend is getting you to get the phone ring and which bits aren't. So we spend more money on what's working and less on what isn't working. So it's been a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but I wanted to give you a quick overview of Google Ads and the key things to think about. So hopefully today you've been able to take away, well, what is it? And is it going to help my business? And I can tell you categorically that it can. Whether it will is a different matter, but it can. The sorts of things that you need to think about. So get your head into who is my ideal customer? What's going to compel them to work with us? Why should they work for us or with us as a customer? We talked about the sorts of keywords that work really well in a Google Ads account, and there's many that we've seen that don't. So these are the keywords that we know work to get you good leads and inquiries. We need to think about the copy that people see at the top of Google that are within your Google Ads account. So what could we change to improve that, to get more people to click on it that are the right kind of customers? Then going onto your website, the landing page, what things could we change that will improve that, what we call conversion rate? What's going to get more people to become an inquiry for us? And then lastly, really, really important is the foundation. So the tracking of our Google Ads account. So hopefully you've been scribbling down things that will really help you to improve your return. And what you could do is, if you've got any questions, by all means, pop them into live chat. and I will go through those a little bit later. And in the meantime, I'm going to hand over to Will, who is going to share with you something far more technical, and it's really tricky because he is exceptionally talented, huge amounts of technical knowledge, know-how, and manages many of our self-storage clients. But what we need to do is share with you something that is new from Google, that is vital, that you are aware of and make changes to. So I will hand over to Will.
Thank you, Laura. Appreciate that. And thank you for the fantastic first part of the webinar, explaining the benefits of PPC. As Laura's mentioned, it's now time to move over to the second part, outlining consent mode V2. But first things first, just a quick introduction to myself. I'm Will. It's great to meet you all. As Laura mentioned, I'm a senior member of her team. I've been working with many storage companies just like yours to attract customers through PPC. As Laura's mentioned, my job today is to be your translator, really, and explain this new update from Google and help sort of guide you through the process. Slight caveat: there may be some technical jargon within this presentation. I've tried to remove as much as I can, and we'll go through this. And apologies for such an aggressive-looking slide, but I just want to really reiterate the importance of this. This is a legal requirement for all Google Ads advertisers starting this month. But fear not, we're going to outline everything during this call. And through the next slides, I'll talk through the definition of what is Google Consent Mode V2, how it works, and more importantly, what you need to do next. So just to reiterate, this will be required for all websites collecting data through Google Ads from this month. Next slide, please, Laura. Okay, so as some of you mentioned on the chat, some of you are engaging with Google Ads already. You'll know that Google Ads is changing all the time. Some say, and I quote, to keep up with the changes, you've got to be able to run as fast as Mo Farah. I believe that was Laura Moxon 2024, so thanks, Laura, for that. But in regards to Google Consent Mode, we don't actually have all the answers as an agency, as Google is forever moving. But just like you, we're working through these changes, and we're now able to share some best practice with you, as we've now implemented this for a large number of our clients. So as PPC experts, literally all we do, it's our job to keep in track of the evolving trends, so you can get on with what you do best, which is keeping your customers happy. And unfortunately, there are more changes predicted later on this year. So hopefully we can cover these in future webinars. But yeah, next slide, please, Laura. So the good news, you already know more than you think. You already know the consent banners. These are omnipresent on sites within Europe. We've had to display these now for a couple of years. Now, Consent Mode V2 is essentially an update on this, so it can integrate with Google Ads and ensure all privacy preferences are respected when advertising. Previously, it was up to the advertiser or the businesses to comply with consent. That's why we all had those banners on our sites for the last couple of years. It's now Google's requirement, because lots of businesses weren't complying, to enforce advertisers, and that's where Consent V2 comes into play. So if you're thinking, why do we have to do this? It's essentially Google is now forcing all advertisers to be compliant. So on this slide here, you'll see an example. Oh, sorry. Back again, Laura, sorry. On this slide here, you'll see an example of the new Consent V2 cookie banner. Much like your current banner, it asks for consent. You can deny or allow. There are just a few extra additional steps, which I won't go into detail, but that's an example. Next slide, please. So you're probably all wondering, how does it work? Well, like I said, it works in exactly the same way as your previous consent banner. There are just a few additional steps to ensure compliance with new privacy laws and to allow users who engage with your site to have more control. Now, Consent Mode V2 has three sort of key parts. Step one, as you'll see from this diagram, is allowing users to communicate their consent like they do now on your site. Do they want to be tracked or not? Simple as that. Step two, once the response has been actioned, the trigger instructs Google to only track those who have given consent. So you only can track those conversions from those that have agreed to it. And step three, this is a new feature of Consent Mode V2. Google is now implementing conversion modeling. And this is used to retrieve those lost conversions. I'll go into modeling and conversions in a few more slides if that is slightly too technical. But next slide, please, Laura. So this diagram, I think, outlines clearly how it works, and you'll probably this is probably quite familiar in terms of your current setup. So a user visits your website or app, and the consent banner appears on your site, again, in the same way as your current setup, and the user engages with the banner to accept the tracking or deny the tracking. Now, what's different with consent mode v2 is that Google will now stop all tracking for those that have disallowed and continue to track for all future users. Next slide, please, Laura. I thought this visual again sums this up, and I'm going to reiterate because it can be quite hard to understand.
Yeah.
This
I just
image does
today because I thought, well, we're busy on
this does have some technical jargon within there, so please ignore that. But essentially, it still boils down to those three key steps. User consent preferences are indicated. These preferences are respected by Google. Tracking is switched on or off depending on response. And then we've got that conversion modeling, which I mentioned earlier, used to gain any of those lost conversions. Now, some of you may be asking, what is a conversion? And if you're not doing Google Ads, a conversion is essentially a form fill on the site. So this is when an individual submits their name and email. It could be a get a quote submission. It could be booking of a storage room or container there and then, or it could be a phone call or email. So that's what a conversion is. Next slide, please, Laura. So more importantly, how do we set this up? Now, I've tried to remove as much technical jargon as I can, but the easiest way to set up consent mode v2 is via a consent management platform. Now, what is a consent management platform? Essentially, this is like a digital assistant that helps websites follow the rules about regarding online privacy. The platform provides the banner, as you have currently on your site. This is a new one, which will replace on your site. Now, Cookiebot is our preferred provider and is the most simple, is the most easy to set up. There is a free trial for all sites under 50 pages. And once you've created an account online, you simply need to get the integration code and integrate this with Google Tag Manager. Now, I understand some of you on the call won't know what Google Tag Manager is, but essentially Google Tag Manager is a toolbox for your website that lets you add and update little bits of code called tags without having to mess with the main website code. Think of this as like adding stickers to a suitcase without needing to open it, and you can without needing to open it and rearrange everything inside. You can just sort of add the stickers to the outside of the suitcase, and in a sense, that's what Google Tag Manager does to your website. For Google Ads, all two of these combined gives your ads a smart assistant which abides privacy. And once fully set up, the banner will appear on your site on the same way as your previous banner. So it will appear, users won't notice the difference. It's just now that you are abiding by the new consent privacy regulations. So apologies if that's a lot of technical jargon, and I can answer any questions once we've closed up the call. Next slide, please. So there is a problem with all of this. The key problem here is that 1 in 3 are predicted to reject tracking. So currently, without consent mode v2 set up, all of your conversions are tracked within Google Ads. You can see exactly what's going on. Unfortunately, with this new update, 1 in 3 will be lost. And that's where the consent mode modeling comes in, which I mentioned earlier. And if you've added the consent mode and configured it correctly, without modeling, performance may drop. So this is why Google has created this sort of AI machine learning tool to sort of fill the gap with any conversions lost. Next slide, please. So more details onto how conversion modeling works. This, again, might be slightly technical for some, but I thought it was a good example of exactly how conversion modeling works with consent mode v2. So with 1,000 clicks at present, without the cookie banner, all of your clicks are tracked and you can see all data. With consent mode, roughly about half, or so up to half, could deny consent. And in this graph here, or this table here, 500 consented clicks have resulted in 50 conversions, and we can see those 50 conversions. For those 50 that have said no to tracking, Google models their conversion data. You can see here in this example that 9 of those unconsented conversions are tracked, when in reality, the client received 12. But without the modeling, because they've said no to tracking, we wouldn't be able to see those 12 at all. So this is how Google's making up for it. It's only going to represent possibly 65 to 75% of those conversions, but that's sort of a table to describe conversion modeling. Next slide, please. So really important, what happens if you don't implement consent mode v2? Now, you will soon not be able to collect data from users in the European Economic Area, so the EEA, this is mostly EU, and the UK. For small businesses like yours, this is quite a risk. You could risk getting fined by not complying with privacy regulations. So that's really important. We want to be abiding by all regulatory requirements. Thirdly, your remarketing lists won't populate. So you can't exclude recent buyers based on this. You may be wondering what's remarketing. Essentially, it's a collection of data of either your current clients, your contacts, anyone who's visited your site. You can store this and use this for future advertising to ensure repeat custom. This will be lost if you don't implement consent mode v2. So very important. This is a great tool which we use at YBA, and you should be too if you're using Google Ads. Additionally, you can't personalize any ads for those individuals I've just mentioned. And finally, you could risk losing out on valuable conversion data, leading to performance drops. And without conversion data and performance, without that necessary conversion data, the performance could drop considerably and for some time. So it's really, really important to implement this as soon as possible. Next slide, please. So to recap how to implement, I've obviously just mentioned Google Tag Manager and Cookiebot, but the easiest way requires one of Google's third-party tools. Now, there are 30 of them. I mentioned Cookiebot. It's the easiest. The second step is to use Tag Manager to install the cookie into Consent Manager. That's Cookiebot. And thirdly, you have to update all of the relevant tags. These are stickers within Google Tag Manager with the new consent characteristics. Again, this may sound extremely technical. I've tried to reduce it down to its simplest form, but that's pretty much how to set up consent mode. You may have some questions on this. We, as an organization, for all of our new clients, set up a consent mode v2 as standard. But yeah, that's pretty much everything from my talk. I'll now pass over to Laura. Thank you very much for listening.
Great, thanks, Will. There was a lot to take in there. It's very difficult to
no,
you did a great job, but I think it's really challenging when it's a very technical thing and to then decipher it into into everyday language, because you guys are running businesses, you're doing marketing, you're recruiting, you're paying bills, all these sorts of things. So so great job there, Will, in sharing that information. And if you have any questions at all, pop them in the chat. And we'll do our best to answer them. And I think there's some in the chat too, so I'll have a look at that. Also, I just wanted to extend some support to you guys. So I know I mentioned there that we often do Google Ads reviews. Now I know that there's some people in here that are number twos that are scratching their head about Google Ads, wondering whether they're making the right investment. If that's you, do take a picture of this, or there's a link which Megan will kindly put into the chat if she hasn't already. I can't quite see it yet. And if you go to that, what we'll be able to do is have a chat with you to create a growth plan and have a look at your Google Ads and say, look, this is where you are. This is how many inquiries you said that you're looking to attract. So what we need to be doing is making these adjustments. So by all means, get in touch. We're a friendly bunch, and if you can't get to that page, you could also email team@YBAPPC. So what I will do is I will hand over to Helen, because I know that she has a few things she would like to say, while I can have a quick look through the chat with the questions, and I'll do my best to answer those questions for you. All right,
thank you, Laura. Thank you, Will. It's my usual. I'm going to let you know about a couple of events that are coming up. So next Tuesday we have the Sector Forum Tech and Innovation. If you want to book on that, please visit the website. The following month, for the following week actually, which is also the following month, we have the CEO update webinar. And on this one, we're going to be covering planning with our new planning consultant members called Bell Cornwall. And we're also going to be talking about the Homebox fire. And I'm sure you have already booked, but just in case you haven't, don't forget about the UK conference, because we're only 4 weeks away now. So if you haven't booked, please do. Just so you know, Laura is also going to be, I think she mentioned earlier, at the conference. She'll be speaking on day 2, and she's also got an exhibition stand, so you can always catch up with Laura there as well. Have you got any questions in the chat, Laura?
Yes, I have. There's a couple of questions here. So there's one from Matt about measuring. How do you measure phone calls? Some can be tracked when the customer clicks on the number, but not when they read the number off the number and type it into their phone. So what we have set up for our clients is something called call tracking metrics, which is the system that we use. And what that does is exactly what you're referring to there, Matt. So what you can do is you can have a conversion tracking that shows click to call. So if they pick up the phone and click on the ad and call you directly, that will be tracked in the tracking. However, when somebody comes onto the website and calls the number, literally kind of dials in the number from looking at it on your website, then that typically isn't tracked. But what we do is we have a little bit of code that sits on your website, and the code says when somebody comes from Google Ads, show them this telephone number, and it would be another local telephone number for your company. When they dial that, that then shows in the call tracking metrics log of all the different phone calls. And also the benefit of that is that clients can listen into the phone calls, because we record them too. So they can listen into the phone calls. Some clients get into a bit of huddle, and they do call handling training and sort of decipher the phone call and see how that could be improved. So there's a couple of benefits there. But the main thing that we do it for is exactly what you said there, Matt, that when somebody types the number into their phone, many people aren't tracking those, and they're really good inquiries. So hopefully that goes some way to answer your question, Matt. Martinus, he has said, how can we use heat maps, for example, Hotjar, to improve homepage conversion? Well, so heat map, there is a system called Hotjar. There's many others out there as well. Heat map is a little system that you can put onto the website, and that will allow you to see data of where people went on your page. So it will show you that, okay, they hovered over this bit and they really want to click on it, but it's not clickable. So we should look at that data. So it tells you a picture in data form of what's happening on that page. How are people interacting? What's stopping them? Are they scrolling down, etc.? So yes, that definitely helps to improve conversions on the page. And also within Heatmap, Hotjar, you can watch a recording of somebody going onto your website, so you can actually see that minutes interaction on your website. So definitely, Martinez, you can definitely use that to help improve conversions. Eager Matt came back with another question, if that is the same Matt. So he said, to target a lead for a specific geography, there are 2 options. One is to add the name of the city as a keyword, or 2, to use the location feature in the Google Ads campaign. Which have you found to be more effective? Well, in fact, it's a combination of both. So in terms of the keywords, we would have, for example, self-storage, Harpenden, where I'm based. And then what we could do is we would have a geographical radius around here, so that anyone in that area seeing the ad, we can then bid more. We can adjust our bidding structure based on them being really prime. They're in the location and they're looking for exactly what we offer. So that's what you can do. The other thing that you could do is you could have a UK-wide, and this sounds crazy, but go with me, a UK-wide targeting, but they have to have typed in the keyword of self-storage Harpenden. So they could be in Timbuktu, in Scotland, wherever, and they will only see my ad because I know they've typed in self-storage Harpenden, but they're outside of the area. This person in Scotland may be thinking about moving to Harpenden and wanting storage. So hopefully that helps to answer your question there, Matt. Just scrolling down. Lucinda, is the blocking of tracking set up as a trigger in Google Tag Manager or in another way? Lucinda, Matt, can I get you to talk through that one? So about, is the blocking of tracking set up as a trigger in Google Tag Manager or in another way?
Do you mean Will? Sorry, Laura.
Will, sorry.
I'm
Losing my
this is the
mind.
name
I'm
you said
thinking
Matt
about
too many
Matt.
times. Yeah. So is the blocking of tracking set up as a trigger? So what happens is, if you're referring to consent mode v2, essentially each tags are set up, and we implement the cookie bot privacy requirement to each tag. So essentially, yes, it's all in Google Tag Manager, but the triggers aren't affected because we obviously, essentially, yeah, the trigger would be affected. So if the consent is denied, the trigger wouldn't obviously be carried out. But yeah, it's all in Google Tag Manager. Sorry for a long-winded answer.
Thanks, Will. And I got a question that I missed from Jamie. Hi, Jamie, hope you are well. The question is about if we were to work, so we work with a number of different self-storage clients, and if there's a potential conflict of interest by working with two within an area. We actually have, I'm sure you've heard of the terms like Chinese walls. So we have an internal Chinese wall, so we wouldn't have one technical manager looking after two in the same area. Now, also, just to kind of explain a little bit more about Google Ads, that yes, it is a live bidding auction. So whether you worked with us or another Google Ads agency or a marketing company or somebody in-house, you're still competing online. So I guess the benefit we have is that volume of data, and our insights are so deep in self-storage that would really benefit your business or whoever's business. So yeah, hopefully that helps to answer your question, Jamie. I'll hand back over to Helen now. I think we've covered all of the questions that I can see in the chat. But if you're a little bit shy and you don't want to chuck it into chat, then by all means, send us an email. I'll be more than happy to help you along your journey.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Will. If everybody kept up with that, I think you're doing incredibly well today. But as I say, if you've got any further questions, then do drop them an email or send it via the SSA, and we will pass it on for you. That was a brilliant session. Thank you both. It's amazing for you to come along and talk about your knowledge and your expertise, and I'm sure everybody would have learned something from that and they would appreciate it. So the slides and recording should be available later today. And I think on that note, I think we've covered everything off, and hope you enjoy the session and have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks all.
Bye, everyone.